to the Indie Wrestling Guy with your hosts, the Hall of Fame referee, Jay Hawk, the not-so-mysterious benefactor, JGold, and the legendary Charly Butters.
Jayhawk's down this week. He's out.
Here's something for Jayhawk. I was going to show him before he died halfway through setting us up with the Zoom. My friend Darren Paltrowitz, who has a podcast, the Paltrocast, who interviews a lot of famous people. He just had Masha on. He's interviewed Joe Hendry a few times. He's a member of the Cauliflower Alley, just like Jayhawk. So he gave me this month's The Ear with The Rock's mother on the cover. So I have been perusing this thing, looking for pictures of Jayhawk. And there's pictures of Buff Bagwell on here. Like there's Buff Bagwell. There's all the Samoans are in here. I don't know what all this is, but I can't find one picture of Jayhawk in here. I keep looking, but it's an interesting little magazine. So I'm gonna have to.
I don't think he's gone in a couple of years. That's probably why he hasn't gone in. I think the last like 2 or 3 years. He used to go all the time, and I don't think he's gone since COVID.
Do you think he knows? Do you think he knows Rusty Blackwell, the backwoods butcher?
I'm sure he knows them all. I mean, did you see the clips of that guy that he was talking about that was defending that belt or whatever like that?
Yeah.
I retweeted it because apparently there's video of it. I was like, this is like the worst shit ever. He came out with like a fencing sword.
Yeah. Jayhawk is the king of the obscurity when it comes to these wrestlers. So I miss him for that because I want to go. I'd love to go over this like page by page with him. Maybe we'll record it for the Patreon.
Yeah, there you go. You could just
So I missed you guys last week. Just in my head, thinking I wish you were with me on Friday because I went to the NWA and then Championship Entertainment Productions collab show at the Factory in Freeport, Long Island. That's where I went on Christmas for their show. But apparently NWA is going around to all these small independent companies, and they're saying, we'll give you exposure. You have to provide the ring, the crew, the venue, but we'll let you use our banners and whatnot. And you can have, guys come in. So there were some Creative Pro guys. There was some really shitty talent on there. You know how shitty it was when Aaron, Aaron Stevens was wrestling a tag match with the two guys, Patrick Fitzpatrick and his partner from Creative Pro against Steven Strauss, who has the driest hair in wrestling, and two other dudes. I think they were called the Slime Balls. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
So that was something. And then in the middle of the show, and he took like no bumps, Aaron Stevens. He took a couple. They gave him like a groin shot or whatever. I thought he was a good guy. All of a sudden, he's playing the heel in that match. But he was there. And then their champion, Thomas Latimer. Imagine seeing the NWA title in the middle of the card. He wrestled this dude, Joe Ocasio, apparently a Long Island legend. His nickname is the Landmine. He does like he does like that kick that what's Drew the Drew the Claymore, except it's a landmine. So God bless him. So that thing was just a mess. And then I know it wasn't great when I looked at Harper and I was like, How do you feel about that? And she was like, yeah. She goes, it was all right. I was like, oh my God, she hated it. I've never seen her not like a wrestling match. And she did not. She was like, it was just there. I'm like, it was there. You're right. So
that was in the middle of the card. He didn't want to have to stay up late. He wanted to go home.
Yeah, it started really early though. That was the thing. It started like 6:45, which was fine. We were out of there, but before 10, we went to Wendy's after. Like it was A-okay that part, but TJ Marconi was on that card. I think TJ Marconi runs that company. And then they did the same exact thing the next night, except like 2 hours out east in Long Island. And you're not paying me to go out there. And then they did another one where TJ Marconi wrestled Thomas Latimer in Jersey on Sunday. So they did a triple shot of garbage for 3 straight days, which
nice.
Yeah. So anyway,
they're doing like the midget pro wrestling thing where it's like, they're going to be here this day. And then the next day they're like 30 minutes down the road. So they're going to be in Brookfield at this one bar in Brookfield coming up. And then they're going to be at another bar that's literally less than 15, 20 minutes away the next day.
It's so strange. I mean, Struggles mentioned, because since we're in ETU week, will bring up struggles. I asked him if the NWA has tried that. He said they did try that shit with ETU with you get exposure if if you guys set up and do all taking, you're taking in all the risk and we're giving you our ring apron. And it's not even the good ring apron. It just said NWA in white letters on a black apron. It wasn't even like the whole National Wrestling Alliance apron, like the whole to-do. I mean, that seems kind of shitty, but anyway, I think
you have to book our champions and put them over, guys.
You should see if Mikey wants to work one of those shows out here in Long Island.
No, I'm good.
We could get him to face the landmine. It would be something. Or Patrick Fitzpatrick. He's my buddy. I like him. But, anyway. So let's talk about good wrestling. Tomorrow is going to be tomorrow is my big movie debut. If anybody is following along, tomorrow I am going to be an extra. And I don't know. I guess I'm allowed to say it. I have social media blackout. I'm not allowed to put pictures up. Okay, so we can talk about it. So I'm going to be an extra on the set of a not yet named Steven Spielberg movie, as everybody knows, as a wrestling fan. So here's the thing. Tomorrow, I'm going to read you what tomorrow's. The call time tomorrow is 6 a.m. Hair and makeup. I don't think I need any of either. I'm not sure exactly what they need me to be at hair and makeup for. Okay. Just a reminder, there will be a CO2 steam for wrestler entrances, as well as potential strobing arena lights. These lights are only interactive lights when the wrestlers are slamming each other on the ring floor. They call it a ring floor. So now we're cooking. There will be water-based atmospheric smoke in the scene as well. And there will be metal detectors to enter the theater. So they don't want me bringing weapons and whatnot. And then and then they said this. Here, this is the thing that I wanted to read you because, Butters, it is goddamn hilarious. So they said, okay, here we go. It says, wrestling fans, casual winter attire appropriate for going to a wrestling match. Jeans, long pants, long sleeve t-shirts, polos, button-ups, which half of these no wrestling fan wears to a wrestling show. Flannels, sweaters, sweatshirts, quarter zips, hoodies, muted colors, no graphics, no logos, boots, sneakers, winter jackets. Bring layers and accessories. You can have some athletic vibe to it. So I just want to say, they don't know wrestling fans. If you're going to be a wrestling fan, you should be wearing a black t-shirt with the wrestler's image on it. You should nobody wears jeans. Hardly anybody wears jeans. I wear sweats or shorts.
I wear jeans to shows.
You don't wear a sweater, though. You definitely don't wear a sweater.
A hoodie.
And the takeaway, you're allowed to wear a hoodie. It can't be olive green, and you can't wear a black vest. So that's what's going on tomorrow. I have to be there at 6 a.m. So I got to leave my house. So you're
going to wear your IW Guide hoodie and be like, oh, no, this is fine. It's my podcast. It's.
I'm going to try to bring something in with like that kind of vibe to it. I don't know how much they may make me leave my vest on. I was thinking about wearing like a zipper vest with the IW Guide logo on the inside sweatshirt and then take it off during the taping. Right? So we'll see. But it's going to be something. I hope that I get to see Mr. Spielberg or something while I'm there. That would be kind of neat. Sir, I'm a wrestling fan. I did so well. I think you should flesh out my story a little more. So that's exciting. So after our interview, after we're getting hyped up for ETU week, and we get to talk to our interview today, I'm going to get up about 4 hours later and get showered and go film a movie. That's fucking great. It's great. It's great.
Can't wait for the update on how terribly it goes next week.
No, the best part's going to be when we all go to the premiere, and I'm excited, and they cut me out. That's going to be the best part. So, but it's going to be an exciting day, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I really don't even know what to expect. So by Thursday, I should have more details on everything, but I'm not allowed to post, so I can only talk about it here. No one listens anyway.
Fair enough. Nobody will. Whole whopping 50 people might know about it.
Yeah, I don't think the guys from ETU are going to spoil it for me because I got to be there on Sunday. And we need to talk about that too because you're going to see wrestling too this weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Saturday. Jayhawk and I are headed down to Enjoy in Pittsburgh for that show. Violence is Forever against TME. The wedding between Sonny Kiss and everyone's favorite wrestler on this show that we now want to interview.
He's going to do the show. There's no doubt that Billy Dixon, I'm actually going to reach out to Billy Dixon in the next couple weeks and see if he will come on and do the show. That's the way to do it, Billy. If you really want it, let's go.
So he's going to be there. Mikey's facing Gianni, Michael, and Rico. That's the match we sponsored for the show. So we'll be there match. To come hang out and.
But he can't bring the belt out, right?
No, he bring the belt? He probably could if I wanted them to, but I told them that I wanted their stuff is like their own stories. I don't want him just randomly to be carrying a random belt out that nobody knows where it came from because his story is specific. Like they're doing certain stuff with him.
Yeah. So he doesn't win that often. You can't have him come out with a belt, right?
Not only that, but like he's supposed to be the underdog, so like he can't just all of a sudden have a belt that like is unexplained. Like it'll be defended at their Taco Mania show, which is cool. Like that's something we kind of worked out. But as far as like being on their main show, I actually, when it was talked about, I shut it down myself. I was like, no, because it doesn't make sense for you guys, and I don't want that to be something that like is like forced on you. So
right,
they respected that. So.
That makes sense. And that's the right thing that I guess, and their reaction is good to hear that they were kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then, all right.
Yeah, they were totally like, if they're like, oh, if you want to do that, that's fine. We can make that happen. I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that to you guys. Like I've learned, like I've talked with enough people and like, I have a relatively decent, good head on my shoulders when it comes to that stuff, that it's just easier to not mess with their booking and let them do their thing. And then like for the other stuff, it's cool. So
all right. Well, I guess we can get into shout outs and whatnot and then start talking about what's on, because we need to get ourselves pumping for this week, because ETU week is the show on Sunday is going to be massive. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, go ahead and do our shout outs. Let's rock and roll.
Shout outs to Zach, Andrew, and of course Patty.
Hey, Jayhawk's not here and he's ill, so you may want to check in on him. He we don't know how ill he is, but he's not well.
She's been checking on me since last Friday. For those of you who don't know, my grandma passed on Friday. The kind woman who I would make the joke of that I was stealing her house and everything. She unfortunately did pass away. Which was expected. So we just been kind of going through all the stuff with that and the funeral and stuff this week. So, but yeah, that's she's been checking in on me and everything like that. So thanks, Patty. Appreciate it.
Always doing the right thing.
What's on this weekend?
Let's talk about the big show Sunday. It is Expect the Unexpected, live from the Mecca, Tidal Wave. It is an 8-team tag team tournament. This tournament I think their belts are 32 pounds total. They are the biggest tag belts in wrestling. They're the nicest tag belts I have seen in a very long time. And they have a crazy amount of teams on this. I highly recommend you watching this one. So first round, Killionaires Club, that's Jay Bougie and PB, versus Matt Mikowski and Luke. Gay Best Friends, that's Aaron Rourke and Becca, against Miracle Generation. You got Legion of Rot versus the Kogar brothers, and then our aforementioned guest Gabe Skye, one half of Above the Rest, versus Violence is Forever. I highly recommend you either get to the Mecca or you get on IWTV and you watch it, because it is going to be fucking awesome. Also, we have a title match, the Key to the East Championship, Conan Lycan versus the champion Marcus Mathers. So stick around for that on Sunday. It starts at 4:00 Eastern. Remember, it's daylight savings. We're going to spring ahead. So if it's 5:00 by you, you're too late. You already missed the show. So make sure you do your thing. It starts at 4:00 Eastern. And that was only on the Independent Wrestling Television Network.
There's a couple things on Fight this week. Looks like IWS Uneffed Sanctioned 2025 will be on Friday at 8 p.m. don't have a card listed for it. So, but they always have really crazy stuff on there. IWS out of Canada has always been it was one of the classic promotions that I used to watch when CZW, first got me into indie wrestling, and then they were the Canadian version of CZW, basically. Kevin Steen came out of there, Generico came out of there, a lot of them guys. So those are always good shows to check out.
That's rad. And also, if we're speaking of shows, by the way, I know I mentioned to you last week on the Main Event Wrestling Network, starting next Tuesday night at 10:15, I think it's 10:15, 10 or 10:15, I'm going to be hosting with Kyle a live after NXT. It's called NXT Night Shift. It's going to be a live YouTube show. It's going to be a late night style, about 45 minutes. We're going to be having, if you want to call in, we're going to try to get a live lineup, and also do some YouTube comments. We'll talk to the folks who are commenting in, but come check out NXT Night Shift. It's not going to be as uptight of a show as far as reviewing what we just watched. We're going to use that during the show. It's going to be fun. I've been enjoying working with those guys, so it'll be cool to kind of stretch us out and see what else we can do with the network. What's the matter?
Stealing you away from us.
Hey, I
knew it was going to happen.
I can do a little bit of everything, my friend. That's the way that goes. But yeah, I like talking NXT. It's a little bit more. I can talk a lot of shit because the NXT people don't care. Unlike in the indies, our indie friends can get a little bit testy when you cross them, so to speak, when you watch their stuff. So, so it is what it is.
Weekly reminder, 880 Wrestling, Thursday Night Fights, 8 p.m. on YouTube, indiewrestling.us. Also, feature dates you need to know, March 8th, Enjoy Wrestling, Dearly Beloved. Tickets are on sale now through Ticketmaster. I'll be there. J-Hawk will be there if he's feeling better. Come check it out. And also, Neo Pro Wrestling Remix Volume 1, March 14th, 2025, at the Vortex in Akron, Ohio. Neo Pro Tix for tickets. Buy some tickets to that show. You're gonna get to see Mikey versus Cheeseburger on that show. Come on, guys. That's gonna be a banger of a match.
And I believe AIW, they're coming back to the Roxy as of March 28th. So keep that date in mind. The tickets are still available. I don't know if their rows are available, so I think it's just GA at this point. But as we get closer, I think that's Sandman and Jay Lethal on that card. So anybody who is in that area, you're going to go check that out. Look for tickets, AIW tickets, I think it is .com.
Interviewing.
Joining us for ETU Week, he's one half of Above the Rest. This is Gabriel Skye.
What's going on, everyone?
Welcome. Hey, so we also say part of the Expected now. That's another faction that you are a member of.
Yeah. Well, Above the Rest, the Expected. This is for a better cause at ETU.
So I'm glad that you're on, because I like having the guys from New York on. Since I'm from New York, I live in Long Island. My co-hosts Charlie and Jared, they're both from the Midwest. They're in Ohio. But I like having the New York guys on. It makes me feel good to talk a little bit more, sounds a little bit more like me, talk a little more like me. So I wanted to just kind of introduce you a bit to the audience, because we do have a large following in the Midwest, and I don't know how much exposure you've had as far as Midwest and AIW or out towards Pittsburgh or anything in that section. Can you give a little background on yourself, because I know that you train with Kono, right, at Remarkable.
Yeah. So I trained with Kono a long time ago.
Sorry.
I also trained with the Grim Reaper and a man named Joe Ocasio. All guys from the Northeast New York area.
Gabe, I just saw Joe Ocasio on Friday night at the Creative Entertainment production, that NWA show against Thomas Lattimore.
Interesting, really.
He wrestled for the title. The landmine, Joe Ocasio.
Yes, the landmine. I know him very well, very well.
Yeah, it was the middle of the card. They didn't have the NWA title as the main event, but it was something.
Interesting. Yeah, so I've got a history with all those guys.
Yeah.
I trained with them about 2016, I started. I started with Joe out here in Long Island. Super close to me. I was 17 years old, and he was on a roll at that time, going through Evolve and WWN and, all these different companies. And shortly after that, I met Grim Reaper. We were all under the same training facilities. We had 3 different schools, and Joe had one in Long Island. Reefer had one in Queens, and Kono had one also out in Long Island, just a little further out west. And through all meeting those guys and us working at the same companies, I naturally kind of just gravitated towards them in the beginning of my career. I kind of looked at them as mentors because, if you were a Northeast fan or just an indie wrestling fan in the 2000s and 2010s in general, there's a good chance you heard of these guys at that point, especially the Grim Reaper. And it just over time, through different phases and eras of people coming out of the revolving door wrestling, I just kind of stuck with Kono for a little bit and Reefer and, Casio. And to this day, I still look to them for advice. To this day, I still pick their brains on, matches and ideas and all these things that I've got running through my head. And, myself and Kono actually are having a match this weekend at Remarkable Wrestling. We're going to be in a dog collar match.
Oh, you are in that match. Okay. I think
yes.
that's going to be where, in Deer Park? Where's that going to be?
Yes, that's going to be out in Wisconsin, Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah, a little further out there.
I think Remarkable puts on a great show. They every time. I mean, when I talk to guys like Struggles and Jack Solomon and Andrew over there at ETU, and they go to Remarkable shows, and they have always talked up the quality of Remarkable shows. Unfortunately, New York, being so far out, it's hard to get 500 people into a place for or even 300 as far as out that far east. So I wonder how to get more eyes on a product that's that far east in Long Island.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a budding community over here for professional wrestling. There's an untapped fan base, if you will. I think a little further out on Long Island. And I say that as somebody that lives out here, and somebody that travels and goes to all these different communities and territories in the landscape of professional wrestling. I come back here and I'm like, man, there's something that's untapped here, because I know there are wrestling fans out here. I was one of them a long time ago, and I still see it. I still see that there's a want for that. I think there's a need for that, especially in the Long Island area. New York City area, you've got a lot of different promotions out there. And,
what do you think is going to get? Because I'm in Port Washington, right? And I'll drive for anything, but I'm a rarity out here. I don't know a lot of wrestling fans who are going to come from here and go out to, I remember driving from Hoboken when I lived there to Deer Park to watch Evolve and, go out east. And it's hard to get those people from over here, even like the closer to the city crowd, to get to a show that far out in Long Island. I feel like I love the fact that it's there. I just feel like I can't talk people into getting out there, and I wonder why. The Mecca gets people from everywhere. I'll drive from here to the Mecca. We have, Andrew drives from out in Babylon. Like, there are guys who take that trip to the Mecca, and yet you tell them to go out east in Long Island. It's like you're asking them to go to another country, and it just doesn't make sense to me why we can't tap that audience harder than we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most things are a train ride away from here. If you're out here, if you're looking to come out here, you can leave from Penn Station and go to Port Jefferson for a wrestling show. You can leave from Penn Station and go to, Ronkonkoma or even Riverhead, Greenport. You know what I mean? Like, it's accessible, but I definitely think that it's untapped in its nature, where maybe there aren't as many promotions that are running the quality shows that people want to see. And that's just the truth as well. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that I want to change with Remarkable for sure. I feel very passionate about it, especially over the last few years. Everybody that's been a part of the promotion, that's been a regular over there, has literally put their blood, sweat, and tears, no hyperbole, into making these shows something worthwhile, into making something that people can look back on and that people want to come and see. Car changes and quality changes, all that kind of stuff is, stuff that's supposed to happen in wrestling. You know what I mean? There's definitely an up and down flow to that. But in terms of quality talent that come in, I think that promotion has a pretty good track record with it. But in 2025, I want to see it get a lot better, and I want to see a lot more people just, show support to their local promotions, really.
Yeah. And Remarkable had Butters, and I don't know if you knew about this, but Gabe, were you on that card? What they built, an elimination chamber? What was what they built out there?
Yeah, that was the first elimination chamber on the independent scene ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And I don't know who or what will come close to that.
Yeah.
In recent times. I mean, you never know. But yeah, first time that anyone in independent wrestling history has ever done that. And it was definitely an experience to be a part of. I mean, when you hear somebody say that they're going to be ambitious enough to try this thing, have an elimination chamber style match on the independent scene, it's like, okay, well, good luck. And then you kind of start to see it materialize, and slowly it's starting to become more and more real. It's like, okay, this is really happening. So the day of, and seeing that structure built, seeing the way that the venue was constructed for it and how it was all going to come together, I was like, wow, this is really going to happen. And I don't think we left people disappointed. I definitely want more eyes on that. I definitely think if that's going to happen again, I think it's got to be bigger. I think it's got to be better. I think it's got to be on a larger scale. And I definitely think more people should be paying attention to it the next time that it happens.
Yeah, I think that's wild. I remember hearing about that. I was like, I can't believe that's even going to be a thing. So let's bring you closer to the east, to New Jersey area, because I remember seeing you. I think I first saw you at the Mecca maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I don't remember which show it was, but I see you there pretty often. You have a pretty good presence when you come in. The fans pretty much, it doesn't matter which company you work for. When I've seen you, they seem to understand everything that you're about. So can you give us a little bit of background on how you're kind of your development? I want to get these out of the way because I want people to understand who you are, because when we do so much in the middle of the country, and I feel like the Long Island wrestlers, the Long Island talent sometimes gets overlooked by other areas, and I like to, I like that you're here. So when you came across, tell us about, how did Above the Rest get started, and when he was using Tristan Ty and everything. Go into that a little bit, how that kind of formed.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I've been wrestling for about 8 or 9 years now. I started when I was very young. And being that young in the business, I'm sure anybody that's started when they were a teenager, pretty much in any part of the country or the world, can relate to kind of feeling like, okay, this is a lot of pressure, or this is a lot of change for me, to go from just being in school, being around people my age, to just, I'm going to work at this now. You kind of have the notion of okay, you got to pay your dues, you got to grind, you got to do the things that are not only going to be asked of you, but that should be expected of you, to kind of grow and learn, not even just as a wrestler, but as a man. And through doing that, for a while, I was just kind of to myself, just wanting to get about being better, getting better, and being disciplined in the wrestling industry. And through moving around to the different schools in the New York area, from Ocasio School to Kono School, I met Tristan Ty. And we were still very, very early in pro wrestling. And I remember walking into the school one day and seeing Kono's class going on. And I saw him particularly doing just some crazy athletic stuff that not a lot of people in our classes were doing at the time. It was a style of wrestling that I wanted to do. And I had always practiced and envisioned myself doing. And when I saw him, I was like, oh, man, he can go. We're really the only other two in here that are moving the pace that we're moving at. And we got to meeting and talking. And honestly, through the first time that we had even practiced together, ran drills together, we kind of just clicked through just, hey, nice to meet you, to oh, wow, you watch that kind of wrestling? Oh, me too. Oh, what's your favorite match? What's your kind of stuff that you study and you look at for? And through doing that, we kind of just got a better relationship. Through just, it's literally just the process of making a friend somewhere that you've never been before. You know what I mean? For it's oh, wow, I can trust this person. He's just a normal dude, And that eventually just evolved into, we didn't realize how close we would get through relating to each other, not through wrestling, but through other real life stuff. So it's you, what's your background? Oh, you live with your family, this, and that. And it's just interesting because sometimes you see a little bit of a mirror of your personality or your work ethic in somebody else, especially somebody that's close in age like that. Mm-hmm. We kind of just right off the bat, we're I respect this guy. I like this guy. I want to hang out with him. And, eventually that just morphed into hitting the towns together, really hitting the road together, to eventually just being like, yo, like I enjoy wrestling you. Like, let's try and go to this show, set up this ring and try to get on this show. Let's go to the gym and think about doing this. And I've seen people compare it and talk about it too. It's like, oh, you guys kind of remind me of like the old like El Generico, Kevin Steen kind of deal. It's like we didn't really know each other, kind of became friends, and then eventually just became like, this is my brother, So yeah, through wrestling, just going to different shows, like, hey man, come with me to this show and we'll try to get on this card, or I'll go with you to this. And through doing that, I think people saw that we had a real chemistry through not just like being friends or going and being able to be personable at shows, but just through being in the ring together, where it was like we didn't have to think about what we were going to do when we were going to go out into the ring. We were just like, okay, I trust him with what we're going to do. And I think once people saw that in different promotions, they kind of just started to pair us together, where it was like, it didn't feel like we were being thrown into tag teams. It didn't feel like we were just being thrown in matches. It was like this guy's my tag team partner, like, naturally. That still continues to this day.
And you've been singles for a while too, since he went to MLW and moving around. I mean, he moved away for a bit, right? I mean, you guys weren't both in the area for a bit.
Yeah. It's definitely crazy to see the growth. We first started tagging together in ICW with Kono in about 2018, and that was the original Above the Rest. And that name comes from him also. I will give him that credit. He was dubbed a cut above the rest. That was his nickname, a cut above the rest, Kono Capuccia. And so when he took us under our wing and we started tagging on these shows and working together on these shows, we were just like, why not just call each other Above the Rest? Why not just make this a thing? Why not just make this a brand, a style of wrestling for us? And me and Tristan just adopted that name, that mindset, that style, and we carried it with us everywhere, from CZW very early in our careers to Beyond Wrestling, where even when we weren't in matches together, we were still associated with each other. And then to just the other promotions that knew that we were a tag team, that knew that we could be trusted to not just be in singles action, but hey, okay, we can have an Above the Rest match on here. And that gave us the growth to kind of expand this brand of what we are now and what we are becoming. And I think that kind of representation shows in everything that we do, singles and tag. Like you said, he's killing it in MLW right now, and I'm super proud of him. And I mean, like, you guys,
you're established now. Like, you have it. Like, you show up at a show and everyone says, okay, these guys, when you're as a singles wrestler, you're on the card, people know what they're getting now. So you said you develop your brand. So yes, people absolutely know on the coast here, anywhere. If I see you on Beyond, if I see you in ETU, if I see you on let's say a JCW card or whatever, anything that there is, it's an established brand at this point. So with you and Tristan kind of being a tag team, do you prefer or do you think about, hey, I like singles better, or I like both, I seamlessly go into both? Where's your loyalty right now as far as that goes?
To be honest, like you said, I seamlessly feel like I can adapt to both. Absolutely. I absolutely feel that way. And I don't want to speak for him, but I think he feels pretty much the same way. And I firmly believe that's why we've always been able to just gel naturally in the matches we've been in and the promotions we've been in, to where it kind of fluctuates, where it's like, okay, once Gabe Skye comes in here, then Tristan's going to come soon. Same thing where he goes, you know what I mean? We're just like, oh, Quan's here. That means, Gabe Skye's eventually going to follow. And not through any kind of nature, political nonsense or anything like that, but it's just the way that we move. Once we're in a territory, we take over. Limitless Wrestling, we just kind of just moved right in there and became the aces of the tag team division kind of instantaneously, really, because we had something that not a lot of people at that time also had. There's a lot of competition, a lot of teams that were in that top dog range. But once we came along, it was kind of just, we were off to the races. And same thing with Beyond Wrestling. You know, I'm proud of the fact that people will associate us with this era of independent wrestling because I remember what it was like for me trying to break into the business and looking at people that had molded the style of wrestling that I aspired to want to emulate. Really, you know, the AJ Styles and the Bryan Danielsons and the CM Punks and the Claudios, the Jimmy Raves, God rest his soul. You know, it's definitely a proud feeling, and I know that we're not done yet. But I'm proud of what we've built so far, and I know that it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
So you mentioned that. You mentioned some of those names. Or do you find yourself, when you were getting into the business, were you more of a TV wrestling guy, or were you more of a independent wrestling guy as far as what you watched, and what did you watch to kind of like get yourself when you left training on like a Tuesday night? What were you watching on tape? Were you watching Raw, or were you watching like indies stuff?
Oh man, I was really a guy that just loved the traditional style of wrestling. So it was like if practice was ending on a Tuesday night, you know, in the late 2010s, I was probably going home after practice and watching the J Cup from 1994. Watching the J Cup from 1995. I was watching, you know, the Dean Malenkos and the Eddie Guerreros and the Chris Jerichos of the cruiserweight style, and eventually the Bryan Danielsons and, you know, Jimmy Rave and all these guys in the mid 2000s and ROH and independent scene in general. But then, you know, I was studying Ruthless Aggression era as well. You know, like I said, Eddie, Edge back then, Kurt Angle, like those guys, Shawn Michaels, you know, especially in the 90s. And I'm the type of guy that I like to study all styles of wrestling, so that way I can kind of just mold my own version from there, you know, because the TV aspect and the entertainment aspect, that's a big part of what we do. It's undeniable, you know, and you have to be able to adapt to that. You have to be able to study that, and you have to be able to not say, that's not for me. You know what I mean? Because maybe it's not for you, but what about your audience? You have to think about what people are watching, where they're watching you, and how they can, if they're not going to gel with you, then what can they digest that they're being presented, you know? So, yeah, I love to watch just the old school stuff, the traditional.
So let me ask
style.
you then, and I I don't want Butters to get mad at me. I hate this question, but I'm asking anyway. You mentioned, you know, Ruthless Aggression, all those things. Did you watch Elimination Chamber? Do you have an opinion on Cena's heel turn? What do you think as a performer that how did you think that went off, and what were your thoughts like? Do those things mean anything to you as somebody who watches, or even like the older stuff? Like I even said, like, this feels to me 12 years too late. I like watching indie shows. I like watching, you know, stuff from my past as opposed to all the present stuff as far as TV goes. I'll watch it. I like wrestling, but do you have an opinion on that? Do you think that it was presented right? Like, what, you as a performer, what do you think of that?
I love it because I think it's about damn time. You know, I think if there's any time for something that big and something that risk-taking and something that breathtaking to happen, it's right now in the twilight of John Cena's career. Personally, me, you know, as a performer, I love seeing that gear shift because I think it's something that all of us on this level can study and can look at and say, somebody like John Cena, who is decades into his career, you can see how he has evolved, and you can see now that there's still a whole other character arc that's about to unfold. You know, that's somebody that has always found a way to stay relevant. That's somebody that has always found a way to not even just continue to expand what his energy is and what he has as I know a lot of people like to use this word, as an aura. He is just, if you're looking for the complete package as a professional wrestler that transcends the industry, and that his in-ring and all that kind of stuff, everything that we love about the business, I see that in John Cena. I really do. In a modern day way, you know, where people look back and they remember watching the Hogans and, you know, The Rock and Stone Cold in the 90s. I mean, The Rock is still prevalent in today's professional wrestling landscape, which is also, it's an amazing thing. I think you can definitely look at John Cena in that way as well, for sure, for sure. So I think it's incredible. I think it's absolutely incredible.
So I'm gonna give you over to Butters for a few questions, and then I have some stuff I want to get through with the with the tag tournament that I want to ask you about. But
Yeah.
Butters, you wanna go into your stuff? I didn't mean to take up all your time.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I want to talk about the monkey flip into the knee that you guys do, because that move is just incredible. And some people take it like the best way is like in that video that is floating around online. There's a couple people that take it like really well, and then there's others that like I don't know if they were afraid or what, but it how did that come about?
So that came about when we were on the way to Uncharted Territory season 3, season finale, on our way to Massachusetts for our match with Miracle Generation. We were kind of just spitballing ideas in the car ride there. And years back, Kono and Tristan were working on this move with a monkey flip where Kono would hit a cutter out of the monkey flip. And when they were working on it, they had tried a bunch of different stuff with it, different sequences and different ways to get into it. And when we were on the way up there, I just thought about that for a second. And I just looked over at them. I was just like, what if we just did like a monkey flip into a running knee? Because I was using the running knee as my finisher at that time. And we kind of just thought about it, just let it sit. Like, how would that look? And we were just like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Like, because I've seen him pull off the monkey flip with different variations and different styles and matches and stuff. And I was just like, what if we just use this as a move? And so when we hit it on that show that night and how it came out and the reaction to it, we were just like, okay, like that's going to be a staple of what we do.
Yeah, I think Bobby Orlando took it the best. That first one, he just like lawn darts himself right into the knee perfectly and did a flip off of it and everything. It was perfect. Like
he just ate it, man. He just ate it.
It made it look spectacular. Made it look like $1 million bucks.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we've definitely hit some gnarly ones. We hit a particularly gnarly one on Davey Bang at Restival for ETU. That was pretty gnarly. We hit a gnarly one on Trigger the OG at Limitless last year. That one, I remember when they posted it, somebody had posted it, that clip just went everywhere. I remember people were sending that to me like left and right, just like really like that, like that's you, like you do that, like that. So it's crazy. It's definitely, but that's what I'm all about though, the innovation,
Let's turn a little bit to some of my more fun questions that I like to ask everybody. What's the worst ring name you've ever heard?
Oh man. Ooh, the worst ring name I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie, man. Especially when you're coming up on the indies and you're trying to just get work in different promotions that are kind of weird. You hear a lot of weird stuff. Like oh man, God bless his soul. I don't know if he'll ever see this, but it's like Victor L. Dragon. What does that mean? It's just like your first name, like L Dragon. Or oh man, I love it when people have rage in their name. They just call themselves Rage. It's like nothing about you screams rage, and your name is just Rage. Like, okay. I
think if you work in Long Island, you hear everyone has the last name Draven. Everybody wanted to be the Crow at one point and be Eric Draven. I think that last name. I think there are 4 or 5 talents that I've seen in Long Island with that name.
Definitely. And this isn't to discredit anybody either, because there's some good wrestlers with like I love Wes Draven.
Yes.
Wes Draven's my man,
Yes.
But there's definitely some people that try to take the name and be like, I'm Eric Draven from The Crow. It's like, dude, no, you're not. No, you're not. Oh man, you caught me off guard with that, because now I got to think, because I've heard some. I've heard some really bad ones. So
that question comes from a Kevin Steen interview. When he used to have his show and do interviews, he would ask. He asked people that because in Canada there was a wrestler named Little Asshole, and he thought that was like the absolute worst wrestling name. He's just like, you pick anything and that's what you pick. So that's why it's like my tribute to him. I always ask that question to everybody just to see what goofy names live out there.
That is insane.
It's like no gimmick Steve the Samurai from
Chuck Taylor's thing.
Chuck Taylor's List, yeah.
I like that. All right.
Awful. Oh man.
What's the what? Let me ask you something. You just wrestled Marcus, right? For the title was it up in Massachusetts?
Yes, I did. I did. That was for Focus Pro Wrestling. That was yesterday. We had our second match for the IWTV Championship. Um, yeah. I'm very proud of the fact that not even a quarter through 2025, and I've fought prominently for two indie wrestling TV championship matches
Mm-hmm.
back to back. You know, because for a long time, I mean, I've been around since before IWTV even started, really, and
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't I don't really feel like that sounds like that kind of dates me back, but it takes me back to when I first started. Like that wasn't a thing yet. People were still posting on YouTube and posting links on like different subscription services, all that kind of stuff. But then IWTV kind of just came along and changed the game, and they went from being Powerbomb TV to IWTV, and that kind of just morphed into this whole thing. So, yeah, I'm proud of the work that we've done so far in those matches, and I've known Marcus for a long time. I'm proud and amazed to see the wrestler that he has become, that he's evolved into. I know that we're all in this generation right now where we'll be associated with each other for a long time, but it's crazy to really see. And yeah, that guy, man, we've been through it, and we've laid it all out there. I'm still feeling it from that match last night, but yeah, respect to the champ for sure.
So what's the weirdest or coolest place you've ever wrestled?
Small, like like these little saloons somewhere in North Jersey, just like on a corner. It's like very small pool table hall. The ring is set up. It's like a 14 by 14 ring. There's pool tables on the side. There's like 10 or 12 chairs scattered around. And that was in like 2017. That was like one of my first like out of state matches, just like trying to get work in other places. I remember when people talk about like, oh, you're going to wrestle like you got to kind of work your way up. You're wrestling like these little halls and bars and stuff. I was like, okay, like whatever. Yeah, sure. And I show up that day, like setting up the ring, and I was like, oh man, like this is literally like a back alley bar, like a really sketchy place I've never been before. I was like, this is super weird.
Do you remember which company it was?
It was LAW.
LA. Okay.
LAW Law. It might have been it was like LAW. It was like Latino Action Wrestling, or I remember working there back then, like for that 30 seconds of just trying to get work. But yeah, definitely the weirdest place I've wrestled in. Coolest place has got to be Barclay Center. That was back in 2019 and 2020, and I got to do that.
What were you doing for that one?
ASAP Yams Day. So ASAP Rocky actually set up a wrestling ring.
Oh shit!
In the middle of the Barclay Center for those shows. So yeah, ASAP management had that set up, and I got booked to wrestle on both of those shows, which was really cool. The first time was definitely a surreal experience because that just happened the day of, where me and Tristan were actually going to go up to Dojo and train. We were going up Blackwater in Jersey, and we were just driving there, and I got a phone call from somebody that was running the ring rental at that time. And they're like, hey man, like, are you available to wrestle right now? And I was like, where? He was like we're doing a thing at Barclay Center. We're setting up this ring right now. And we thought it was just like a ring rental that somebody needed help with, that they're just setting up this ring outside, like in the street. And we're just like, I don't know. So right off the bat, I was like, we're heading up to go and train right now. Like we're about to go and go to the dojo up in Jersey. So I don't know if I will. And he's just like, fine, you know what? Whatever. That's cool. Hung up the phone. Somebody else that was there calls me and was like, yo, like, I think you should do this show. And I was like, why? Like, what's up? He was like, dude, look at this. And we're on FaceTime, and just turns the camera and just pans to this ring in just this huge Barclay Center, just completely empty. I saw that and I was like, oh, I guess this is what I'm doing with my night. So that happened that night, and it was crazy. I mean, just step in front of 20,000 people on a whim, just on a moment's notice. Really, I'm glad it all went smoothly. but yeah, that level of pressure, that level of shock, like so early in my career, I feel kind of shook me up and woke me up very, very early on to kind of see like this is what this wrestling thing can be.
Who did you
Crazy.
wrestle that night?
That night, I wrestled a man named Brian Idol.
Oh, that guy. He works. Is he an NWA guy? Because there was Brian Idol at that show on Friday night, who supposedly is their like nationwide booker.
Yes, he is a part of the NWA.
Yeah, yeah. He wrestled on Friday night in the main event. Yes.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yes, it was an event. That was the last match of the card. Yes, it was a thing. I don't know. I'm trying to be
Interesting.
diplomatic here, Gabe. I'm trying to be as diplomatic
Hey,
as possible.
listen. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. That my notions my notions are a bit the same. Yes, yes, that is a match that I had in the Barclay Center
Right.
that I got to do, and that I got to do some pretty cool stuff in, and I got to have the ASAP Games Day Championship awarded to me after
That's
by
cool.
ASAP Rocky himself in the middle of the ring. So it was really cool that aspect of it, of just like doing that and meeting all these different people from the entertainment industry, just being in there. You know, I'm hanging out with ASAP Rocky, just in the ring 1 second, and then I'm backstage with Tyler the Creator and seeing like Frank Ocean and Meek Mill and all these different people just randomly, like we're all just kind of chilling backstage, and they're coming to me and being like, "Yo, that was dope!" Or like, "Yo, that was really sick!" Like, I'm a huge wrestling fan. It's like, oh wow, like I don't even know these guys. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. It was crazy in that way.
All right, so I got two more. Being that you're from the East Coast, this will be interesting because Sheets has been undefeated in this question. But after a show, you going to Waffle House, Sheets, or Wawa?
Oh man, I'm going to Wawa.
Hmm.
Now, are you going to Wawa because you do not have a Sheets usually when you're out in your area? And if there was a Sheets, you'd probably want to go there instead? Because I heard Wawa is just bland Sheets.
Yes, so that is my answer by default, just because there's a lot more Wawa out here than there is a Waffle House or a Sheets. I will say, anytime I've wrestled in the Carolinas or down south or somewhere where there's a Sheets, I've gone to a Sheets after a show, and it is amazing. I will say that right now. Listen, Wawa, they can make a good sandwich, they can make a good sub. When it comes to hot, ready food, just like things that like I went into a Sheets and that I had never thought of or seen before. I was just like, okay, like if they had this up here, this would be my preferred choice.
Mhm.
So yeah, got some love for Sheets. Waffle House, it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad. There's nothing bad about it. It's hot. It's ready. But I mean, there's no reason why I should go to a Waffle House and they can't give me chicken and waffles, or they can't give me like a bacon cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Just like things like that. But I'm like, that's kind of weird that you don't have that here, or like barbecue chicken. You know what I mean? Just like weird things. And I'm like, hey, maybe I want like a 10-piece of barbecue wings. I can't get that here. Like, okay, it's kind of weird. But maybe Waffle House isn't the place for that. But yeah, Wawa's my default answer.
I like Wawa's toasted bread. It's good. It
I
serves
like
a
their
purpose.
toasted bread,
Yeah.
man. I like toasted hoagies. Like I can get with that.
It serves a purpose. It works out okay when you're in a crunch. Like you gotta. When I went to school in Delaware, we went to Wawa. Was there all the time. We paid for a carton of cigarettes. It was $20. So I mean, like Wawa was the best in the '90s, for crying out loud. But all right, I'm dating myself, but I do that often. Butter, sorry.
All right, last question. What is your craziest fan interaction?
Craziest fan interaction. Now, when you say crazy, what level of crazy are we talking about? Like,
I mean, has a fan ever like tried to attack you, get in the ring with you, something like that, thrown something at you randomly? Like, I mean, I thought you might have given it away when you said that you were meeting like all those like famous rappers backstage, because like meeting Tyler the Creator and him being like having seen you wrestle, that'd be like a crazy fan interaction, because you know technically at that point they were fans to see you. But like, I mean, I guess I could go with like any like just people being idiots type stories too. I like those.
Interesting. Yeah, there's definitely a few that come to mind in terms of like outrageous interactions with fans. So this is a recent one that happened when I actually won the New Fear no ring world championship from Dominic De Niro. This is a few weeks back, so this is pretty recent in my mind. That crowd after Hammerstein in the city was rabid. Those fans were just vicious, and it was a mix of those fans and the fans that come to the punk shows and the fans that come to the hardcore shows and they come to the New Fear shows and the Five Boroughs. It was just a mix of all these different people, different crowds, right? And by the time this show starts, it's already maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe 12:30, 12:45. So everybody's a little on the wire right now, you know? So in this packed space where we're supposed to walk out and cameras are supposed to follow us, and Dominic De Niro has the championship, right? We're getting ready to go out for our match. He goes out first, and I'm waiting for my music to hit. I'm waiting for myself to go out. And it's been a few moments after he's done making his entrance that I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why isn't my music playing yet? Why isn't anything happening yet? Man with the headset comes through. One of the production guys from New Fear City comes through into gorilla position. And he's like, we got to wait a second. Like something just went down. I was like, what happened? It's like, what's going on? He's like, we're trying to figure it out myself. I go out. I'm walking through the sea of people. People are getting crazy. We start fighting through the crowd. I'm told that a fan tried to take the championship from Dominic De Niro as he's making his entrance, as he's waiting for me to come out. Dude holds up the belt. A fan snatches the championship from him while he's got two hands hoisted in the air, takes it from him. Dom just looks at him like, dude, give it back. The fan is caressing it, just holding it, cross arms over the belt. Dominic just moves in and just gives him 2 biscuits and a pie. And takes the title back. We're wrestling, right? We're working through the crowd. We're brawling. We're going back and forth. Something happens where we're knocking into each other and we're, trying to get away from each other. And this fan comes back into our match.
What did he do?
Fucking guy out of here. I don't know if we're allowed to curse on here, but
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Pulls this guy out of here, throws him into the crowd, and we just keep going. Somehow I see this guy again. I've got a kendo stick. I'm trying to swing at Dom. He takes it from me. He swings it up. He hits the guy because he's just standing there. The crowd. I'm trying to get barbed wire. Fans are falling into the barbed wire because shit's just getting so crazy. You're getting stuck in the barbed wire. I'm literally pulling fans out of the way, like, move, because people are just like falling into the glass and all the stuff that we have out there. And eventually there's, some blood that starts formulating from my head and people are just going rabid. People are just on top of me. I'm going to compare it to like a mosh pit where they're just like, I'm trying to fight this guy and there's people just on top of me. So while I'm fighting De Niro, I'm also trying to fight off these rabid strangers that are just like, I don't even know if I would call them fans at this point. I'm just like trying to get them off. After the match, win the championship, I'm running through the bar. There's people just like all around me. I go out and I'm trying to cut a post-match promo, and all of a sudden I hear Dominic De Niro running through the crowd after, just hobbling on one leg. His ACL just got destroyed. He's hobbling on one leg going through. He's just like, where is he? Just like people are just like moving back and forth. He's looking for this guy. Eventually the guy just got kicked out, right? He comes back in. There's a bodyguard, a bouncer, and somebody else from our New Fear team. 2 big dudes just pick him up, and they're just picking him up like a little baby. Just threw him out, just arms and legs, just kicking and screaming. So,
but those bar shows that's crazy. Like those shows are not like.
It's definitely one of my craziest fan interactions. Definitely one of my craziest moments with a crowd. That involved a lot of people and a lot of different things happening that honestly didn't even involve me at first. So yeah, that is one that comes to my mind.
You ever have any bad experiences at the Mecca?
Any bad experiences at the Mecca?
I mean, we've all been there so many times. I don't think I've ever heard anybody have too many bad things to say about just hanging out at the Mecca, but I don't know if it's even a thing. Did you ever wrestle when they were doing a quinceañera in the basement?
Yes, I have. I've wrestled when there's a quinceañera in the basement. I've wrestled when there's like a retirement party in the basement. Mm-hmm. There's like a graduation party in the basement or whatever's going on.
I think I've seen you on several of those. Yes. When they have like them coming up the steps and the kids are downstairs all dressed up and they're running around and you guys are doing your thing. That is wild. Yeah. It's happened quite a few times. In terms of bad stuff at the Mecca, I
I have not ran into a situation that's been bad for me yet, but I've definitely heard or seen or fans getting crazy, getting kicked out, or people just not having good vibes or some beef or whatever's going on. But me personally, I've only had good times at the
Or
Met.
less than a delicious Bobo's sandwich, because I think that place is highly overrated, if you ask me. Everybody
Really,
goes
I've
there because
been
it's
there
something to
before.
eat. Oh, you got to go. You got to go Sunday. Go on Sunday.
It's overrated, but you got to go there.
Well, everyone's got to eat it because they say it's Jersey. They love saying it's such a famous spot, but I'm like, I've had better, but everybody goes there. I feel like
He
when we're
wants
there.
he wants to win and have good food on Sunday. He doesn't want mid food and lose.
Well, you can go
So
to the bar on the corner down there too. That place is pretty good. I sat there and drank tequila before the last ETU show, Summer Madness, and we were a mess. We were throwing hot dogs at each other. That was a mess. I'm an old man.
Wow,
We had no
wow.
business throwing hot dogs around. But anyway, speaking of that, let me get to the tag tournament because this is a big one for you guys. The whole stealing the titles is great. The wanted posters. I was at the White Eagle a couple weeks ago with Andrew, and we saw the sticker was on one of the poles in the middle of Jersey City of you guys with the wanted poster. So, tell me about, like, let's just talk real, like, the tournament's really exciting, and I'm very curious as your opinion on it. But like you guys are now like the big time attitude change and the bad guys now. So how do you feel like it's paying off for you as far as your career's going, and how will it translate, you think, for the fans in the tournament? Because you're pretty much somebody that the fans were cheering for, and now you guys are like the worst on the roster. You guys are stealing the belts and causing all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, I think from our point of view, this is something that has been a long time coming, to be honest.
Hmm.
Especially after years of teaming up and down in different territories, different promotions, us going our separate ways and rejoining and kind of taking the storm to different places. I think this has been something that we've been internally wanting and internally working for a long time, especially this level of prestige to crown the first ETU tag team champions. When you think of tag team wrestling in the Northeast, when you think of tag team wrestling on the independent scene, above the rest is one of the first names that you think of
Hmm.
right off the top of the head. To be honest, I mean, this is nothing to do with how the fans have reacted to us or
Hmm.
the crowds have reacted to us. That support has always been there. I think if people rock with us, the people rock with us. If the people support us, they support us. And if they don't like us, they don't like us. That is, they pay their money to go and cheer, boo, whoever they want. But at the end of the day, you can't doubt that we are the top performers on any card that we're on, and that's just a fact, really. So in terms of us stealing the titles, in terms of us taking what is quote unquote not ours, these championships belong to us in a lineal way because
Hmm.
we were ETU before ETU was ETU. Let's put it that way, right? We're the ones that were trained by the guys that were the influence of this promotion, that this promotion wanted to build off the backbone of. We're the guys that we came from that lifestyle. We came from that world of wrestling. The Grim Reaper, Homicide, Amazing Red, those guys, like that New York City influence, that hard hitting style, that intense style, that's what we come from. And that is who we are. And that's what we bring to this generation. And that's what ETU wants to present. That's what we are. So, yeah, this Sunday is going to be a bit of a challenge,
I mean,
but
they put you in the meat grinder to start the entire tournament against Violence is Forever. That's got to be a bucket list type match for any tag team.
absolutely, absolutely. And we're no strangers to BIF. We've had matches with them in Deadlock Pro Wrestling and
Yeah,
multi
yeah.
tags and all that kind of stuff. But this is the first time that this match has ever happened 2-on-2. And I think it's quite fitting that it's going to happen in ETU, especially given everything that's happened over the last few months. I know you brought up the attitude change. I definitely feel like, again, this is something that we've been feeling internally for a long time. We've been doing this for a long time. And it's not the feeling of feeling overlooked or slighted or anything like that. It's just a matter of we can wait around and see what happens and see what success waits around the corner for us, or we can just take it and make it happen ourselves. We can make the change ourselves. So, especially teaming up with Austin Luke, Matt Mikowski, and Brandon Kirk, that was definitely a turning point for me personally. Another turning point for me was at Remarkable turning on Kono. That was kind of a thing that started to turn the gears of what we are right now, a whole year later, from disbanding from Kono and kind of shifting into this alter personality that I think people have kind of seen come to the surface a lot more for me. I've definitely been a little bit more of a loose cannon in the last year, but this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. This is something that I've been holding back, maybe because of different circumstances in the wrestling world, just where you are and where, what you're doing on different shows and cards and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You got to find that room for growth. And I think it took me a while for that to unlock in my brain and my personality, especially when it comes to the entertainment side and the professional wrestling side. This is something that I feel right now the most confident I've ever been, really, in the ring and out of the ring. And all of those things of us forming our own group, doing this thing at ETU, taking the titles, this tournament, this is the culmination of a lot of different things for us personally, for Above the Rest. So it's a big deal for us.
Who do you got? Who would you like to face in this tournament? Who else, as far as you look at that bracket, and it's every team is different. You have Legion of Rod on there, the Kogar brothers. Who would you like to face, or who do you think is coming out of the other side of the bracket that you guys are going to face? I'm not going to say you guys are going to lose. So if you think you're going to win and you get to the end, who do you want to face? Who's coming out of the other side of the brackets?
Oh man, well, everybody's gunning for our heads, so everybody's dead meat in this tournament because we got a lot of aggression, a lot of anger right now. This is a lot of steam that's going to be let off on Sunday. I think there's going to be a lot of tension in that locker room. I feel it right now when I talk about it. VIF was a match that we've been chasing for a little bit just because tag team wrestling on the independent scene, like, they are the bar of that. Mm-hmm. They are the standard for performing and showing up and being professionals and having these matches and having your name in the tag team legacy in the indies. VIF is that right now. So right off the bat, that's a match right there that we had to kind of fight for. Mm-hmm. In terms of the other people that are in this tournament, I'll pay respect to the Legion of Rot because I remember coming up and watching those guys and seeing those guys in the promotions that I was looking at. And yeah, those guys are veterans. Those guys have been around a long time. This is a young man's game right now. Yeah. And I would like to see how they face up against Tristan Ty and Gabe Skye. I think it's a match that a lot of people wouldn't even expect to happen in 2025, let alone really ever. So that's something that would definitely leave me salivating for a match.
It looks to me, though, if you guys get out from the first round and Legion of Rot can beat the Kogar brothers, you'll have that match in the second round. That'll be that bracket's crazy. You'd have to get out of that bracket by facing them if you get through them. That's nuts. Okay.
You've got that. Miracle Generation is somebody we've had a lot of history with. Mm-hmm. We want to beat them 2-on-2, though. We defeated them and the Motor City Machine Guns in one match for their Remarkable World Tag Team Championships. And that's a huge accomplishment, but I still think there's a score to settle there with the both of them 2-on-2. The Kogar brothers, they're animalistic, to say the least. Yeah. And those guys are brawlers, and those guys, especially in the deathmatch scene, I mean, I've been on a lot of the same shows as those guys and, seen what they can really do when the cuffs are off. That would be an interesting dynamic at ETU. Gay best friends, I got a lot of respect for them too. Aaron Rourke, I've been in the ring with him many times. Becca is tremendous in-ring wrestler, tremendous presence in her matches and shows. And I believe Tristan was in a match with her at the last show. Mm-hmm. Contra versus Gay best friends. And again, like, the competition is tough in this entire tournament.
It's going to be a wild afternoon. I'm very much looking forward to. I love a good tournament. I love a one-day tournament. I think that they keep the people engaged when you get to see so many teams and so many different styles clash for each round. So I think you guys are gonna. I think it's going to be a great day either way. And a great day for each of you, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. And you know what? I would be remiss right now if I didn't mention the other tag team I didn't mention already that can't seem to keep our names out of their mouths, particularly one person in that tag team of the Killionaires Club.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I don't mention them.
Yeah.
Because Jay Bougie
talks a lot of shit.
He talks a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Writes a lot of checks that his ass cannot cash. I guarantee you, right? This is so I'm glad that you bring this up about who we're looking to face, because I'm not looking forward to facing them. But if they just so happen to get through the tournament and meet us in a match, all bets are off. All bets are off. Because they claim, particularly Jay Bougie, because let's be real, PB Smooth has done none of the talking.
He doesn't have to.
PB Smooth
6'9".
PB Smooth doesn't have to talk.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he commands respect and he knows that he doesn't have to chirp on social media. But with that being said, Jay Bougie being the talker of the group, it's kind of a shame because the star of their group isn't even around. And the star of their group doesn't even back up or support anything that they campaign for in ETU. To go around saying that you built the tag team division at ETU, like, dude, what have you done in Expect the Unexpected as a tag team? Really? Let's think about it, right? The last two championship matches they were in at ETU, they lost. They lost in the IWTV ladder match against Miracle Generation and Fresh Air, but they still want to claim that they built the tag team division at ETU. I don't see how you build the tag team division at ETU by losing. Really? Let's get that out of the way, right? Ken Broadway. He hasn't been around in, I don't know, he hasn't been seen since Marcus sent him packing.
Yeah, he hasn't been around since last February?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things wrong with that, right? They put out a video today, and
I will say it's pretty good, Gabe.
I'm flabbergasted.
It's pretty good. I
Listen,
say Bougie talks a lot of shit.
Bars. Yeah, I've seen bars. Those are not bars, bro. Those are not bars. Those are not bars. It boils my blood. It boils my blood because our names have never come out. Their names have never come out of our mouths. Really,
yeah.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating because our issue isn't with the Killionaires Club. If you don't make it our issue, they made it our issue because he can't seem to keep our name out of his mouth, right? He talks about not knowing who Tristan is, not knowing who Akira Kwan is, not knowing what identity he is. I don't think Jay Bougie knows who he is. He doesn't know if he wants to be Boomaye's water boy or Killionaires Club water's boy. It's just a fact. So he can talk all he wants. He can talk all he wants. He can go around thinking about us and talking about us and tweeting about us and tweeting at us all day. Let's be real. We do not think about Jay Bougie at all. And that is not to minimize the threat that they present as a tag team because we'll see who ends up in the finals.
I look forward to it. I hope it happens. I really do.
If you're going to talk shit, you better back it up. That's all I'll leave it at.
I like it. I'm looking forward to it. But I know Butters won't be there because he's far away, but he'll be watching and we'll be looking at that. I am so pumped for Sunday. I can't wait to get out there and hang out for the day and see how it all goes down. So Gabe, I appreciate you coming on and working through our technical issues to start. So what we want to do is do our plug. So we want to get you to tell us, everywhere you're going to be. And we'll let us know what what your schedule is looking like, where the fans can find you on socials.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Gabriel Skye _, and that is the same on Twitter at Gabriel Skye _ or X or whatever the hell you want to call it. Facebook is the same. I don't really know if people use Facebook for bookings or anything like that anymore, but you can always reach my email, fightgabesky@gmail.com. That is where you can find all the latest updates and things that you want to see from me, shows and all the kind of things that are happening in the wrestling world with me. So I appreciate all support. I appreciate everybody being just as excited as I am for the things that have happened this year and for the last few years of my career. And 2025 is going to be a big year. And I appreciate you taking the time to have me on.
Of course.
And I appreciate you being able to work with me through the technical difficulties. Again, I don't know what kind of hacker man has been sent to my systems where I'm locked out of my Twitter account, and then I'm locked out of my Zoom account. I'm just trying to do this podcast with you guys. So now you got me fired up. Now you got me fired up for this show on Sunday and for this show on Saturday.
So. What's on Saturday? What's Saturday?
I've got that dog collar match with Kono.
Oh, dog collar. That's this Saturday. Right. Okay, so if you're in Long Island, come check out Remarkable on Saturday. Kono and Gabe in a dog collar match. Fuck, I would love to see that. I'm gonna see if I what is it this Saturday? I might actually get to do that. So
I definitely think you should. I've got a lot on my plate this weekend. But I'm hungry and I'm ready to eat. So let's do it.
Excellent. Butters?
Charlie_Butters on both Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Got nothing this weekend. I'm going to enjoy on Saturday, and then I might be going to another company out in Indianapolis on Sunday. We'll see if that happens or not. I don't know if I'm in the mood to travel this weekend as much. But then next Friday is, of course, Neo Pro Wrestling Remix Volume 1. The IW Guide Championship will be on the line. Mikey Montgomery will be taking on Cheeseburger for the first time ever. So I'm super excited for that match. I'm proud to have put that together, and can't wait for everybody to see that.
Excellent. And you can find me on X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it, Instagram, at JGold12. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Our Twitter handle, IWGuide1, Blue Sky, IW Guide, and patreon.com/IW Guide. Sorry. Don't forget about the merch store over at Brainbuster Tees and Gorilla Press Apparel. When you use code IWGP24 at checkout, when you buy 2 or more items, you get $20 off your entire order. Check out our podcast friends, the Main Event Wrestling Network, Wrestling Junkies on the Mark Wrestling Podcast, Tino's Time, and coming soon, as of next Tuesday night, my new show, NXT Night Shift. If you get tired of listening to me here, you can listen to me talking about NXT there. So, at Odds with Wrestling, the card is going to change. The Super Fantastic Podcast and Marks with Mikes. Check out our other friends, Time Capsule Toys, Toy Hio, Rubber City Toys, Neo Pro Wrestling, and Kaplan's Pally Beef Jerky, the best beef jerky in Ohio. That's all I got for this week. Gabe, you're the man. Thanks for coming. We really look forward to Sunday. Well, I look forward to Sunday. I'm coming. It's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, man.
As always, life's short. Watch more indie wrestling.
Don't forget to review and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Find us online at Facebook and Instagram at the Indie Wrestling Guide, and on X or Twitter at IWGuide1.